Welcome to RPG Book Club. This week, we see that Xenogears has 2 of everything. 2 martial arts tournaments, 2 robot battle systems, and 2 boyfriends for Faye.
Welcome to RPG Book Club, the podcast where we play a little bit of a video game and talk about how it makes us feel. I'm Michael Spiffle-Webbin.
I am Sam Allman.
And I'm Elias Sailor Eli Warren.
And today we're going to be playing through a heck ton of Xenogears. That's chapters 18 through 24, from Kislev Capital all the way through Night Purge. Before we get started, how's everyone doing?
Wait, through all of Night Purge?
Yes.
99% of it.
Oh. You said before till we got to the world map, so I got through Night Purge and I saved on the world map and Secret Weapon.
I forgot that and didn't even get to the world map because it was 4 in the fucking morning.
That's fine. That's fine. It's like 5 minutes of gameplay.
Yeah. So
okay.
If you saved in the house with Hammer there at the end of Night Purge, you literally just walk outside and Rico's like, you know what? We're cool, and then you walk outside and you save on the world map. Like, that's literally all you missed. So.
I saved after, like, there's a boss rush, and I saved in between.
At the Luna?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I saved at the Luna.
Okay, well,
we'll just tell you what happens.
Yeah, there's an extremely easy chapter boss, and then you...
a bunch of cutscenes.
Yeah, then a bunch of cutscenes, and then you walk out,
you save the day, spoiler alert.
Yeah.
Okay. So I apologize for that.
No,
Tuesday, Tuesday I was running on Monday. Monday I was running on 3.5 hours of sleep because I had one day to flip my sleep schedule around from nights to days. It didn't work. So I came home, tried to play Xenogears for 2 hours, and then went, I can't fucking do this. I'll just finish it after raid tomorrow. I've gotten through probably half of it. Like, you know, we're probably doing like 4 or 5 hours this week, so I'll be fine. And then I got done with raid on Tuesday, got to Xenogears, and the more I played, the more I went, how much fucking more is there? I didn't know we'd be playing 10 hours of the game this week.
Yeah.
It wasn't quite that much, but I did play an extra 5 hours on top of the 2 that I'd already played.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's a lot. And I'll tell you, I knew it was a lot, but it was even more than I remembered, mostly because of... So there's sort of 2 different arcs to this, but in between those 2 arcs is more bullshit than I remembered.
Yeah.
And anyway, though, one thing that's fun is we are recording now on Thursday, and now because of our schedules, is this theoretically a regular thing that we could do?
If we do it this early, because I have therapy at noon every Thursday.
Okay, because I think it might be cool to keep our Wednesday recording schedule, but then, like, the option to do it on Thursday if we need to, I think is a really nice thing to have.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
I can do it, especially because next week we'll have to record twice.
Yeah,
hint,
true.
Hint.
Wink, wink, wink.
Wonk.
Wonk. Yes. Oh, Eli, you don't even know that's a reference to.
No, but it's funny.
It is funny.
It sounded funny. I'm sorry. Jeez.
Okay. Wow, I think our start to Homestuck
this is probably the fastest.
Is a new record this time.
But Eli, I'll lend you the books, even though the books are like a director's commentary. But it'll be great. It'll be fine.
Okay.
Anyway, Eli, you started your new work schedule, and it's definitely better than the old one, right?
Yep. Yeah. I not super enthusiastic about going back to my old work, but you know the schedule is great.
Yeah, at least it's not a stupid idiot time.
Yeah, I do miss having Sundays and Mondays off. But I get to see my partner more in general now.
Yeah.
Because he's not at work. When
you're at work.
Yeah.
Or, you know, he's not at work when I'm up, and then not asleep when I get home from work.
Yeah. So that's good.
Yeah, it worked out really well, at least that way.
Speaking of jobs, I started my new one, and on the first day, they were like, "Hey, everything you do here is behind an NDA, so you can't even tell people what you do for a living." And I'm like, "Okay, cool." So, beyond what I've said before, that I work for Waymo, that's all you get to know.
Wow.
Yeah.
So it's definitely sinister then.
Oh, it's just Skynet. Like I walked in and the T-2000 was like, "Welcome to Skynet. You work for me now."
Well, now you're going to be fired out of the cannon into the sun.
New bit. All right. Okay. You tell us what you do every week for work, even though you have an NDA, but you just don't tell us what you actually do for work. Just make shit up.
Yeah, I'm a cheese machine learning tasting specialist. I eat a lot of cheese and tell computers how they feel.
You just wait. You'll make something up about the company, and then it turns out that something that they do, you just didn't know that.
And I get fired anyway.
You get fucking fired.
We just have a Sam's job update segment.
Like, how did you even know that? I was just guessing.
I was just making up bullshit.
I was just doing a bit. Jeez.
Well, your comedy bit ruined the NDA, and now we have to get rid of you.
Now we're all getting arrested.
Guess what we're accessories to, Mike?
Oh boy.
Yeah, other than that, it's great. It's a lot of fun. And one thing that's not behind the NDA is the break room snack area is free. So I just walk in and I can just grab a bag of chips if I want it. And that's pretty great. Work. Yeah.
Don't forget to bring some of those chippies home every day. Get a little lunchbox, and at the end of the day, when your lunch is not in the lunchbox anymore, you put some chips in the lunchbox, and then you go home.
Michael, that's how people lose their free chip privileges.
Yes.
Dude, boss makes $1, you make a dime. That's why you steal chips on companies. Just.
I mean, I don't disagree. However.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah, so let's get started, unless anybody else had any other pertinent information.
No, my week was weird and bullshit, but it's too complicated to explain. Although I have one juicy tidbit that I'll share with y'all after we finish recording that the rest of y'all don't get to hear. Sorry. It's an NDA. Anyway, so where we last left Xenogears, we had just gotten the heck out of our asses kicked.
Yep.
In the desert, and a lot of things blew up, and that was it. And then we cut to black and had a little Luna. For those of you who are not aware, when we say a Luna, we're referencing the last game we played, where in between chapters, Luna P, which is a cat in Sailor Moon.
No, it's just Luna. Luna P is the little sphere.
You're
that,
right. That's the save point. Luna the cat shows up and says, "Would you like to save, Kupo?" And you just get it, and it's just like an automatic, not at a save point, just save between chapters. So anyway, that happened here.
The cat from Sailor Moon walked out and asked us if we wanted to save.
It was a weird weird reference.
But it was the 90s. It was like pertinent. It probably got a good chuckle at the time.
Everyone's like, "Hey!"
The kids loved it. It got girls to play the game.
Yeah, did you know that Luna's in this game?
You just gotta go through 15 hours of heteronormativity, then you get to see a Sailor Moon reference, so it's worth it, girls.
That's kind of like it being gay. So at any rate, so we fade out from black, and a dude's playing an organ dramatically.
A super cool organ. That room is so pretty.
This chapter is full of fucking incredibly designed rooms. Beautiful room. It's super ornate. There's like candles and shit everywhere. The whole organ is modeled. You see all the pipes going into the floor and stuff. Well, as the camera lovingly rotates. There's a very conspicuous shot of a treasure chest, which is hilarious.
I just saw it in my screenshots, and I didn't grab it while I was in that room.
Yep, I just remember that I didn't grab it either. God damn it. Well, because it's like fucking 5 hours later, you're actually in that damn room. But like the camera rotates. I always love treasure chests in games because it's like, this is a cutscene. This is like a real life plot thing. But then in the middle of this cutscene, you're just like, bam, treasure chest. Don't forget, this is also a video game, and you're going to get this chest later. So this dude's playing the organ all dramatically, and a guy comes up, and he's like, "Yo, what's up, Kaiser?" And the organist stops playing and turns around, and he's like, "Hey, I'm Sigmund, the Kaiser." And they're just talking all dramatically, and they're like, "Hey, there was that big explosion in the desert. It wiped out 2/3 of the Ave and Gebler forces." And the way they're talking, you're like, "Oh, okay, these people are Kislevians. That's where we are now." And the Kislev forces found Weltall with Faye unconscious inside, and they took him. They're like, "Cool, we got our robot back." Took him to the Kislev capital. And then the dude is like, should we like attack Ave because they just got 2/3 of their army destroyed? And Kaiser's like, no, that's stupid. Why would we attack Ave? And the reason is he's like, Ave's still way stronger than us. I gotta look out for my own country. If we attack them, they'll counterattack us. And frankly, they would still like maybe we would defeat them, but then Gebler would just send even more soldiers to replace them. And no, that's not the right move. So right off the bat, I'm thinking, hey, we've spent ages with Ave. Maybe in comparison, Kislev are like kind of good guys. They definitely seem a little more reasonable, at least.
Yeah. Except for the whole like blowing up their prisoners thing.
Yeah. Well, no. Yeah. I'm saying at this point in the game. Yeah. Lesser of two evils, maybe. So yeah. So that's it with the Kaiser. So then you cut to another new scene. There's this huge dock, and a fucking huge, cool, blobby ship shows up. Mm-hmm. It's like it's like butt plug shaped. It is.
I guess you're not wrong.
I just thought of that.
I just didn't expect you to say it.
I'll try to think of what shape is it.
Well,
yeah.
I'm not super familiar with such things, but I'm aware of them. Anyway, I like this. But it's enormous, and to quote Douglas Adams, it hangs in the air in much the same way that a rock doesn't. And the scene is super zoomed out. I love it. All the sprites are like 2 pixels tall. Yeah. Like they're literally like there's no detail. They're just a jumble of pixels because it's so zoomed out. Yeah. I hope you liked I hope you liked the game having like 5 different masked men, because now we've got a masked woman.
Yay!
And she says masked woman as her. Oh man, I heard Scarlet. Anyway, masked woman shows up and she's like, yeah, I'm an envoy of Graf. And you're like, oh, Graf isn't just some random guy that goes around. He has envoys.
Yeah.
He apparently has a network. He has some sort of organization or group. He's not just some dude.
I'm still convinced that he's just some dude.
I mean, he's just some dude.
He's gonna open his mask and just gonna be like, Bill from accounting? Like,
yeah.
Oh my god! I never would have expected it.
Yeah,
You're so quiet.
He's definitely not one of Phase 3 dads. So she's delivering this huge thing to them. And all she asked in return, so she's just like, no, I'm just giving this to you, man, because we're buds. And then she's like, you know what? You can do one thing for me. And she makes a very mysterious request. She just asks that the Kislev people transfer Faye to D Block. Mm-hmm. So Faye's already their prisoner, but she's just like, put him in a different place. And they're like, that's a pretty easy thing to say. So they do it. Then there's a crazy surrealist flashback dream, which I said I was going to watch and write up later, but I didn't. Y'all folks, what happens in this crazy surrealist flashback dream?
Faye talks to himself as a kid, but then he also talks to the Faby that is a demon at the same time.
Oh yeah, that's right. He's playing Faby, like the first Faby is like playing ball with his mom or something.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then
so Faye's basically, I said I'd write it up later, but yeah, I mean we all remember what happened. Yeah, so Faye's like, it's so cool. I love this scene.
Yeah, it's super cool. So it starts with like it's like a polygon version of the anime crucifix from earlier. As in like the first shot of the game earlier. And you see Faye Sprite like running through that. Then it fades to what looks like Lahan, but people in Lahan didn't know him, so it's probably not. But it's where you've seen his dad in other flashbacks.
I think it's just generic.
You mean his father?
Village that looks. You mean his parental unit?
and so he's there like playing ball with his mom, and then the screen like flickers like an old timey like silent movie, and then you see Faye Sprite like in a black box theater just like watching this projection, and it's like such a cool like pullback like the TV when we were in Ave that one time.
Do you notice the weird thing about the ball in this scene?
No.
Oh man, it gets me every time I play this game. So Faye, again, like Faye and his mom are kicking this ball back and forth, and it's like a loop, like it's a vine. It just repeats over and over and over. And but the way the ball works is the ball's like because the image is like it's like blown out. So not only does it have film grain, but it looks like a faded, needs to be restored old movie. So it's like all the colors are super blown out, or the whites are. So the ball is just like a flash of white, basically. And when it passes, so how do I explain this? Faye is in the foreground and the mom's in the background. So the ball is going away from Faye. So the ball is, from a Z-axis standpoint, behind Faye. But whenever the ball intersects with Faye's head, it goes over it. Like, it's literally like the sprites, they mixed up which of the sprites appears on top of the other. But
That's funny.
It's super conspicuous, and I don't know, I feel like it maybe was on purpose, because it's already a fucking weird scene. So so the ball just passes in front of Faye's head instead of behind it, even though it's clearly behind him. But it makes it seem to me almost like the ball's a projection onto the screen and not actually like part of the scene. It's so strange.
It's weird.
Every time it passes in front of his head, I'm like, stop doing that.
Faye's just playing Pong on top of the movie.
Yeah, he got bored, so he hooked up his Atari to play some Pong.
Yeah, over on top. Yeah, exactly. The second projector. So anyway, it turns out there's like 3 different Fays. There's Faye watching the movie, and then it cuts over, and it's like Faye is a child, and he's chatting with his baby self, and the filmmaking's all weird. The camera angles are all weird. But then there's there's normal Faby, and then there's emo Faby, who looks evil, right? And emo Faby says some shit.
He says, you shouldn't be here.
Yeah. So they're like mad at each other. They all hate each other. But they all hate Faye the
Emo Faby was
most.
the one in that gear at the beginning of the game.
Yep. So Faye, in conclusion, Faye is a land of contrasts.
Yes.
Basically. And nothing in here really makes sense. It'll all make sense later, but it's just a bunch of weird stuff happens and it looks cool.
I appreciate it because it was very Twin Peaksy.
Oh, yeah. No,
yeah, I really liked it. It was really cool.
Yeah. So Faye wakes up, and he's in a place called D Block, and turns out D Block is basically like an open air prison in the Kislev capital, the Kislev capital of Nortun. This game follows the JRPG. If y'all remember the grand list of JRPG tropes, one of the tropes is that every country in the JRPG game world has only one town, except for the country you start in, which has 3, which is exactly how this game is. If you count Lahan as part of Ave and don't count Nissan as part of Ave, then it matches that trope to a T.
That's amazing.
So Nortun gets its own world map, and it's awesome. So Faye's been unconscious for 4 days, but as soon as he wakes up, some weird they dress like they're in cyberpunk world, even though they're not in cyberpunk world.
Yeah.
They dress like freaking Jet Set Radios almost.
What they
have
look
weird
like
visors.
100% is in season 3 of Digimon. Don't worry, I'm pulling up Google Chrome because I know none of you have seen it. But there's these people that hack into the Matrix to watch the digital world to see when Digimon show up, and this is literally their uniform. So I'm gonna get a picture. You can continue.
But yeah, it's super weird. So there's a couple of sprites in this area. The male ones are no, male and female. There's male and female ones that are battlers, and yeah, they just dress like they're in fucking cyberpunk world. And then there's also the girl model of Amazonas, and even though it's Amazonas, they're not dressed like you'd expect them from Amazonas. They're also dressed sort of like they're in sci-fi world, except more slutty. So anyway, these weird dudes show up, dudes and dudettes, and they're like, "Hey, you woke up. Time to go meet the champ." And the champ is Blanca is in this game.
Yeah.
It is.
I regret saying that past Faye looked like Blanca last week because this one is literally Blanca.
This is actually Blanca.
This is literally actually Blanca. Yeah.
I haven't even played Street Fighter, but I know who Blanca is.
Yeah. Blanca's name is actually Rico Banderas, and I feel like it's racist somehow.
It might be.
It's like, hey, this is the one character with a quote unquote foreign sounding name. What if he was a giant green wrestling mutant? Yeah, I gotta say, what do y'all feel about Rico?
I love him, actually.
I do too, yeah.
Yeah, the first time and second time I played this game, I thought he was a boring character, and also I didn't like him in combat because he gets 1 turn for every 3 turns of Saitan.
He's so slow.
But actually, he does hella damage, and I think his character is cool. He's really sweet. Actually, he's a sweet, sensitive boy.
Yeah, that is the outfit, Sam.
Yeah, sorry.
That's definitely it.
Oh, did you send it to the chat?
Yeah.
Oh wow! Yep, there it is. So at any rate, yeah, Rico's great. So anyway, Rico and these people, they do. It's basically hazing. They're like, "Hey, the new guy's here. Had time to do an initiation,
a baptism ceremony."
Yeah, quote unquote baptism ceremony. So you have
this
to fight...
baptism where we beat the shit out of you.
That's pretty fun. So anyway, you have to fight. You have to fight all those flunkies. And they all have names. I just don't remember what they are. They're boring. They're named characters.
So
Suzarn, I remember.
Yeah,
Suzarn.
I remember Suzarn, and I was about to look through all of my things, but I only screen captured Suzarn.
Actually, I have a guide up.
Oh, I think Leonardo's one of them because that's the guy that like blows you up, and I think he's
Donatello and Michelangelo.
Exactly.
Raphael.
Yeah.
Oh boy. A ways up.
Yeah,
I forgot. Leonardo, Leonardo, Heinrich, Vargas, and Suzarn, which is like, where the hell do you get Suzarn from? But,
yeah.
Okay.
At least Vargas is from FF6.
When you fight all of them except for Suzarn, they all just look like that weird elf model in the forest.
Yeah, it was very weird. They were all just...
Yep.
This is one of those things that like JRPGs do that I referenced, and I was like, oh, I guess this game won't do that back in the first Budokai Tenkaichi that we did, and because I was like, oh, they even gave like this random chemist like its own move set and everything. Like, wow, this game isn't going to reuse assets like that. And then they're like, look, these people are way more important to the plot, but they're just wood elves.
This game just wanted to prove you wrong, Sam.
I need to stop guessing things about these games because I've been wrong coming up on 4 times now.
Yep. So at any rate, I forgot to mention something. So when Masked Woman is chatting earlier, they asked her what her deal is. Like, why are they giving her this giant ship or whatever? And she's like, I simply wish to observe what is in store for the world. And I'm like, that's a normal thing people say.
Yeah, that's not weird.
Yeah.
And then later, also, did y'all notice that around this point in the game, the writing gets weirder? I know these games aren't actually localized like in order of how the games go. Like it's not like they actually localize the beginning of the game first, then the end. But it seems that way to me because I feel like as the game goes by, the writing starts changing, and at this point, I feel like everyone just talks the same way now, like weird, loquacious, long-winded. Like it used to be just Saitan talk that way, but now like Faye does it. Like, Faye'll say shit where I'm like, that's not something Faye would say. Faye'll say some, like, beautiful, eloquent sentence, and I'm like, is Saitan talking or is Faye talking?
Yeah.
And it just becomes very, and, like, it becomes, like, goofier, like, especially when Faye talks with Hammer. Anyway, the writing in this game gets odd.
Yeah. For instance, there's a bit here in a second where Faye says, when I pilot a gear, I become aware of how unstable my very being is, even if I don't want to think of it. I'm like, that's not what... damn Faye from earlier in the game would have said.
Yeah, normal. So anyway, turns out fighting all these people determines your social rank in the hierarchy of this prison, basically. You kick their asses. It's not hard. I think maybe one of them was hard, but whatever.
One of them was hard, but I have healing spells, so I just healed, and then it wasn't hard anymore.
Exactly.
Suzarn was the last one, and it was difficult.
Yeah, because he hit like a truck, so it was like heal for 3 turns, get a pop shop off, keep healing, etc. At least for how I was.
After you beat all of them, you beat Rico, and he wrecks you. It's a plot thing. He annihilates your ass. But that still means that you are A rank, which means you have a lot more freedom in D block, so you can basically walk around and do what you want. Also, you get better food and a better bunk bed. One funny thing in this game, the writing, I think I mentioned this last time, but it happens even more this time. The dialogue options in this game are just a treat. They're just beautiful. They're all so hysterical. Good. I love them. And, like, you do not get a single just yes or no. They're all super unique dialogue options, and they're hilarious, and they characterize Faye a lot. So,
by the way, real quick, The D block is what I'm calling my male strip club.
Nice. So at any rate, so you're A block, which means that when you go to the cafe, they're literally like you get the A rank special, and it's like apparently like incredible, like fucking like 5-star restaurant quality food that
For a prison.
Yeah. Well, they say there's some optional dialogue there about like how this is like a really famous chef, and he decided to go to the prison for some reason or something. I don't remember.
Something like that.
And then when you go to the dorm to sleep, it says, "Hey, would you like to rest here?" And you click yes, and Faye's like, "The A rank bed it is," and he jumps in. Like
he's so enthusiastic about it.
He's so enthusiastic. He's like, "Hell yeah, I get all the good shit. I'm better than people. This is awesome."
Speaking about the chef real quick, so if you talk to a lot of the NPCs, they say that like D block is open for all civilians, just prisoners can't leave it, so it's like half slums, half prison. But one of the guards is like, well, yeah, that's true, but nobody would ever willingly go to prison type thing. So like you see some people that like aren't prisoners, and they kind of like laugh at you for not being able to leave, but that's about it. It's a very weird, like, on one hand, oh, that's super awesome because it's like an entire city and people have a lot of freedom even though they're prisoners, so it's not inhumane. But then also, if a prisoner leaves the bounds of that block, their necks explode. So
so you get so Faye gets a different character portrait for this. He gets a giant fucking bomb collar around his neck, and it's big too. It's like the size of like a life preserver, basically.
Someone calls it a fucking necklace, and I'm like, that's a lifesaver.
It doesn't look comfortable. So anyway, you explore. The whole prisoner civilian thing. Yeah, there's a JRPG style, just like regular residence you can walk into at one point. And you walk in, and first of all, someone's like, you can't just walk into people's houses. And then everyone else, and then the other person is like, gosh, we moved here, but there's just all these criminals everywhere. And at first I was like, hey, that's, a thing that racist people say when they move to the quote-unquote wrong part of town. And I was like, oh, wait, no, in this case, you actually did literally move to a prison. But still, prisoners are real people, so come off it. These prisoners are tight, and they're fine, and you shouldn't be such a jerk about them. But anyway, oh my gosh, speaking of things that no person would say, did you talk to the child NPC?
I did not.
No,
you talk to the child. He's like, normal. He's like, shouldn't kids normally play outside because it's good for their health? But in this case, I don't think it's such a good idea because we live in this dangerous area. And I'm like, no child talks like this.
No.
It's so strange. Anyway, so you explore. There's a CD bar and a cafeteria. Everyone's obsessed with battling, and they always do capital B, and it's always called battling, not battles for fighting. They're always like, are you going to watch the battling game? Did you catch that ludicrous? Oh wait, no, we shouldn't reference that show anymore.
Why not?
Huh?
That sounded like that was a loaded thing. Why shouldn't we?
No, I was referencing the IT Crowd, which is a really great show. But the creator of the show is like the biggest turf on the fucking planet.
Oh, damn!
It turns out,
that's unfortunate.
Okay, that's what I was figuring. It's that didn't sound like a like an interpersonal thing, like, oh, we reference IT Crowd. It sounded like somebody involved in this is an asshole, and I wanted the details.
Yep. Whatever his name is, IT Crowd guy. It's one of those things where he said something a little turfy on Twitter, and it probably was innocuous, like he was probably just being ignorant. But then people called him out for it. And what do you do when someone calls you out for being problematic?
You double down.
Yep. So now he's like, that's my brand, is hugest fucking turf on Twitter. But anyway. Yeah, so you get the runaround for a bit. They're like, these people are looking for you. And then you go where they are, and it's like, oh, they left. They're somewhere else now. You finally talk with a committee member and this important lady named something. And she's like, you should be a battler. Battling is gear fights.
Her name is Rue, by the way.
Rue, yeah. And you keep thinking she's going to end up being a really important character or something because, I don't know, she's like kind of weird. She's like...
doesn't have a talking head, though, so I immediately went, all right, you're not important at all.
That's true. But, like, she talks, like, funny. Like, she talks like she's got something going on. She's, like, cutely characterized. She's, like, weirdly flip about the whole, like, forcing prisoners to fight thing. She ends up not being important. She's just a cutie. Anyway, Faye's like, no, I don't want to fight because whenever I fight in Gears, it makes me realize that my being is fragile.
No, that's not what he said. He says, I hate Gears and I'm not interested in that kind of stuff.
Right. Yep. Faye is like, nah. And then Hammer, a character we met a second ago that I'll cover in a minute, is like, dude, WTF? You have to do battling in gear fights. So, who's Hammer? Hammer is the local supplier. He's literally Master Splinter from...
Yeah, he's a big fucking rat.
From Ninja Turtles, yeah. And he just talks like this, man.
Bro.
Bro. Yeah, so at one point he calls Faye bro, and Faye goes, could you stop calling me bro? My name is Faye. It's like, I'm not your bra. Anyway, Hammer's like, dude, WTF, you have to do battling because the winner of battling has their sentences pardoned.
And also, I'm never going to stop calling you bro.
Oops. Can you also hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, cool. My phone did a thing. Yeah.
Okay. I was like, wow, my joke really sucked.
No, I didn't hear it. I'm sure it was funny. So anyway, Faye... Saitan shows up, and he's like, I'm the doctor here now. And you're like, oh, okay. And he's like, Faye, you don't really like Gears, or you really don't like Gears, man. Dude, like, look, I know I'm always trying to make you fight in Gears, but I've realized I was wrong. If you really don't want to fight in Gears, we can find another way out of here, I'm sure. And then Faye says the thing about his self being unstable and not fixed, which scares him, which, I felt that. But also, it's a connection with some lost part of himself from his past. So he wants to stick it through to the end and find out what it all means. So whenever he's in a gear, he realizes that there's something about his past that he's missing, and he's like, yeah, I gotta figure out what's going on with this shit. I gotta figure out what the plot of this game is. So I gotta keep getting in Gears.
Me too, Faye. Me too.
There's a really cute part where
he also says as part of it, 'cause Faye is like, nah, and Saitan's like, oh, okay, I guess you're the kind of asshole who breaks promises. And Faye's like, what do you mean? He's like, you promised Bart that you'd protect Margie if anything happened to him. And Faye's like, Bart's dead? Why didn't you lead with that? My boyfriend's dead, and you just come in talking about Gears and shit.
Yep. Yeah, so at any rate, what was I gonna say? Bard and Faye lost part of himself. But darn it, there's one more thing that I wanted to go.
Cut to weird floaty computer cube.
No, we're not at the floaty computer thing cube yet.
That's where we are in your notes.
I know.
Your notes suck.
There was something that he actually wanted to say.
Yeah,
and
I forgot what. Oh no,
I ruined it.
It was either smart and insightful, or it was dumb and will make y'all hate me. But either way, I need to say it, right? No, it's fine. Yeah. So you cut to a weird floaty computer cube. That's what it is. It's not a cube. It's a sphere.
Yeah.
It's a black sphere with a bunch of TV screens on it, and they all have a different robot brain in them.
They all have Darth Vader with his helmet off on them.
Yeah, they're different colors, so you can tell there's multiple of them. And they're talking, and they're like, he has appeared. Oh, faster than expected, after only 3 years. Oh, interesting. And you're like, okay, they're talking about the fucking Knuckles the Echidna.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then they're like, the memory cubes say that he's in Kislev. And you're like... Okay, cool.
They're reading my memory card. They're just because memory cubes are where you save your game. So it's just like, oh, they just found a PS1 memory card, and they're like, oh, hey, he's in the Kislev Capital chapter.
So this guy plays a lot of Digimon.
So Sam picked up on that. Yeah, the thing is, if you remember way back in the beginning of the goddamn game, turns out that those floating yellow things where you save your game are in fact called memory cubes. So. Yeah, this when you save your game, it's basically government surveillance. It's fucking Skynet. Whenever you save your game, I guess it tells the bad guys everything, and that's how they keep track of the entire world because everyone's got to save their game, so they're just spying on everybody, which is the dumbest shit imaginable.
Mm-hmm.
Although spoiler alert, that also happens in Chrono Cross.
I was going to say, I don't know, I kind of like when the game is a little bit like, it kind of has its own mind, and it does those things where it kind of incorporates an actual game mechanic, which you'll see with a future podcast.
Oh yeah, totally, yeah. Yeah, in Chrono Cross, it's funny. Again, same people make Chrono Cross. Chrono Cross has a more developed version of this same idea, which I think is better. But yeah, it's like
this is probably the dumbest version of it because it just it falls apart with like any amount of scrutiny.
Well, also, it's like, what if you played the entire game without saving?
Yeah. What if you're speedrunning this and you don't do any saves?
Yeah, they never know where you are.
Yeah, they're like, where is he? I don't know. The memory cubes haven't turned up anything.
Okay, no, you make a fair point there. No. I've never played the Chrono games, so I can't really weigh in on that.
It's okay. Well, we're going to try and play Chrono Cross. That kind of, for good discussion, will require you having played Chrono Trigger. So I don't know when I'll force you to play Chrono Trigger so that we then can play Chrono Cross.
But it's going to happen eventually.
It's going to happen.
I mean, it owns, so whatever.
Like, if you're going in and doing a blind Let's Play of Chrono Trigger with you and Ken, I want to see that. So, like...
Yeah, totally.
It would be amazing. But after that happens, we can play Chrono Cross.
Yeah. So, at any rate, then there's a whole bunch of gameplay that I literally didn't put anything about. And the reason why is not because I'm a big lazy butt, but because nothing happens. Is there nothing about the I actually took more notes than this. I guess I didn't get saved somehow. Anyway, so here's the plot of this portion of the game. You got to do battling, and they take you to the battling arena, and they're like trying to do battling. And I'm thinking what I'm sure you guys are thinking, like, oh, didn't we just have an anime tournament arc? But then it makes sense. It's like, oh, we had an anime tournament arc where you fought on foot, but this game has 2 battle systems. So surely this second anime tournament arc will be us using the gear battle system to win gear fights. But then they're like, make sure you talk to this person for the tutorial before you go into the battling arena. And I'm like, okay.
Why do I need a tutorial?
So I talked to the lady, and again, I'm still naive, like, do, this is going to be fun. So then I talked to the tutorial lady, and she's like, hey, I'm the tutorial lady. Do you want to know what the different buttons do? And I'm like, sure. And she's like, the directional button moves you toward or away from the enemies.
She's like, all right, I'm going to teach you how to play Tekken.
Right, well, we're not there yet, because there's actually 2 tutorial ladies. So this one tells you what the buttons do, and there's no pictures or anything. So she's just like, the directional button moves you forward or away from the enemy. And I'm like, excuse me? And then she's like, the triangle button jumps, and the R button shoots your missiles. And I'm like, excuse me? What is happening? I feel like the realization slowly dawns on you. We are not going to be doing turn-based gear battles. No. We're doing something completely different. This part of the game, we get to have a mini-game, because apparently in a game where you literally have an RPG battle system that they programmed specifically to allow for robots to fight each other, and that's not enough. No, we have to have also a mini-game where robots fight each other, but like, it's the same thing. It's still run-on-one, plot-wise, it's one-on-one gear fights either way, but for some reason this time, it's a real-time fighting combat system instead of a turn-based combat system. And we needed to do both of those things for this game. It's great.
What I think it might be, because of how polished this thing is, I think this might have been the original gear fighting system, but it's too hard and finicky to do for like mobs and dungeons.
That's an
and stuff.
Interesting idea that I hadn't thought of.
And so because it was so crazy, they pared it down and made it like closer to how your regular fights go.
We already put work into this, so we might as well put it in the game somewhere.
That's exactly what I was going to say. Like, well, it's already there. We've already
I don't
got
know. I think that's too generous. I think that's too generous of an explanation. I think they really were that dumb and that committed to making the most maximalist game possible. They're like, hell yeah!
I was going to say,
this is a great idea, guys.
We're playing another one of those old RPGs that doesn't know what the fuck it wants to be.
And has
Rogue
no
Galaxy
idea
all over again.
Like, if they had not made this fucking fighting game battle system that, as you said, is weirdly polished, they could have, like, finished the game.
Yeah.
So, it's so dumb. The good news is I think it's pretty fun, and also not that hard, in my opinion, at least.
The only thing that was hard for me is, like, hitboxes disappear and reappear basically on a whim, and it was really hard to read.
Hitboxes or whatever.
It was really hard to read, like, oh, I'm too far up this hill, so I can't hit him, but he can hit me. But or then, like, he's actually still finishing his last attack that I dodged, so I can't hit him for a while, so I'm going to waste my entire combo on his iframes. And it was kind of hard to read. The fight with Champ, skipping forward like 5 hours from now. The fight the fight with Champ, I was the only one I lost though. So it was like it wasn't hard. It just was like frustrating and not as polished as it could have been.
I didn't lose any fights either up until Champ, but still, for me personally, my experience with fighting games is Smash Brothers and Smash Brothers only, and even then,
so
very
zero
casually.
with fighting games.
That I what?
I was joking. I said, "Oh, so you're saying you have zero experience with fighting games?"
Yeah, basically.
Because Smash doesn't count.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, yeah, that's probably why I like Smash Brothers, and nothing else. No, I'm very, very bad at them. Anytime I have tried to play, it's like, do these impossible button combos that only someone with reflexes that work like in a 1/10 of a second can do. And I'm like,
actually, a 60th of a second.
Oh yeah, okay, fine.
Fighter 2 literally does have one frame combos or one frame combo links, and the game runs at 60 FPS. And I'm like, that's absurd. How the hell?
It's regardless. Yeah, it's ridiculous, and only the most superhuman button pressers can do it. And so I went in and like almost got my ass kicked on the first guy, but I mean I picked up on it quick enough because there's only so many buttons. And it's not like there's much of a combo system to be had.
It's very
there,
simplistic.
So, yeah. But it got frustrating at the end.
Yeah. So the way it works is you can basically do three hit combos. The arena's really big, and it's like in the desert you'll overheat faster. In the water you'll overheat slower, but you can't shoot your missiles. And I'm like, I'm not gonna make use of any of this information.
Yeah,
and
I don't even remember that being said.
It's a thing. I went through all the tutorials because I'm me.
I actually used the water a lot to cheese my second fight third fight with Champ because
you shoot a bunch of missiles and then go to the water.
Yeah, I lost the first one. I won the second one, but my button combo on my RetroPie to take a screenshot is right next to the button combo to shut the game off, and that sucked. So I did that and had to fight Champ for a third time. But on my third one, I was like mad because I had to do it again. It was so hard the last time, so I would just stand in the water so that I wouldn't overheat, jump, and shoot him with missiles.
And then land back in the water. Nice. Very smart, actually. Making use of those game mechanics.
Right?
So yeah, it's pretty cool. You can shoot missiles, and if you shoot missiles, you overheat, but missiles are a really good way to hit the bad guy. But if you overheat, you start losing health, and the health you lose is way more than the damage they do. So what I would do is I would actually be punching them, but once they got down to like a third of their health, then I would back away and just bombard them with missiles until they died.
Yeah.
Like just for the last little bit of their health, because at that point they'll die before I do, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah. At any rate, so the way this part of the game works is you wake up in the morning, you open palm slam a VHS into the slot. It's Chronicles of Riddick, and and right then and there you start doing the moves along with Vin Diesel. No, and you go to the other part of the city, and you do like 2 fights, and after each fight you get some money. And one thing I like about this, after you leave, it's nighttime.
Yeah, it's like it took all day.
Just the idea that they show the passage of time, it's cool. It's like, oh, you finished fighting, now it's nighttime, and you go home and you go to sleep.
Which is much better than, okay, for 3 times in this dungeon, we're just going to say it's nighttime and stop and do a cutscene.
Yeah.
Yeah, seriously. Well, also, in most RPGs, like, nighttime is just a fictional concept, because, like, even though they say, like, we've got the big day tomorrow, you can still, like, go to the inn and sleep. To restore your health, but like it doesn't actually pass time. Yeah,
the only time it's like nighttime is when you go to like the seedy part of town. It's always night there.
Then it's nighttime. Yeah. So the idea there's actually time here, I think, is cool. So some of the days, like the first, second, maybe third day you fight, like nothing happens in the plot. You just go and you fight, you go to sleep, and that's it. But then occasionally there's a little plot cutscene here and there, right? After, but we forgot the most important thing. So after the very first fight, like the tutorial fight, you're fighting one of those dudes that you kicked their ass earlier in the baptism ceremony, and you're fighting him, and then you win if you're me or most people playing the game probably, you win easily. But then after you beat them, all of a sudden Faye's like, what's happening? And his gear his gear is Weltall, by the way. They let him use Weltall, and he's like, this is weird. And they're like, something's going up, and they're like, well, I guess I should do it anyway. Anyway,
hand waves it as like, I think they gave you your Weltall to collect some data or something, and it's just like, we didn't want to make a second robot.
Which and the funny thing is, you think it's going to be something more sinister than that, but that actually is it. They're like, yeah, no, we need to collect data on Weltall. The bad guys all seem more interested in Weltall than they are in Faye, but it's one of those things where they have like, they're like drift compatible or something, so like other people probably wouldn't be able to like activate Weltall's true potential or whatever the fuck. Anyway, Faye's Weltall just blows up. And then you wake up the next day and you're like, what happened? And they're like, somebody sabotaged your gear. Oh, it was the guy that you kicked his ass. And Rico actually shows up and apologizes. He's like, look, I didn't tell him to do that. They're sore losers.
But also he fucking died this morning.
Yeah, but also he fucking died this morning because he was in the sewer and a monster killed him first-person Predator style. If y'all have seen the movie Predator,
yes.
I don't mean predators as in sexual predators. That would be a very inappropriate joke to make. After I said Predator style, I was like, so yeah, it's good stuff. At this point, Bart and Faye start. Not Bart. Freudian slip there. Rico and Faye start talking.
And
Rico and Faye,
I might also be shipping them. It's
Rico
true.
and Faye definitely have a thing going on. Like they're extremely buds. Like they're like, bro, are you gonna be okay in the sewer? Like, bro, I respect you. Like, bro, you beat me in combat, and that's why I respect you, bro. Like, it's
that's Hammer doing his like little fanficky impression of them.
So the subplot develops, and the subplot is, that there's been a bunch of murders in the sewer, but because the murders are other battlers, aka people whose asses Faye kicked, people think that Faye is the one murdering people, so you have to clear your name by going into the sewer and defeating Red Rum, which is a big fucked up monster. And a bunch of shenanigans happens. Like, the sewer scene is relatively developed. You find out that, like, it only appears out of these pipes, and across from the pipe there's always a death because there's blood on the ground, but it will never kill the same person in the same place twice, so you have to like find the pipe that doesn't have blood across from it and ring a little bell to lure him, and you go to this room where you think he's going to be, but he's not there, and then you have to talk to this robot, and a lot of shenanigans happens, and it's
a really good dungeon. I just wish it wasn't like right here, because it completely like it
breaks up the flow.
Because like you've been going to bed, waking up, fighting robots all week. Like you have a flow going on, and it's like, okay, the finals are tomorrow, but instead let's do like a 3-hour dungeon crawl, and it's like, okay, I guess we'll do that.
Sure.
This is the part where if they'd handled it Persona style, it could have been a lot cooler. Like, imagine if you did a little bit of this each day. Like, maybe you go through the sewer and you find the door where you think it's going to be, but then the door's locked. And at that point, they're like, oh no, the door's locked. Oh, but we're out of time. We'll finish this tomorrow. And then it warps you out of the dungeon, and you do the next day of fighting. And, you know, that would have been cool. So this is everyone's least favorite part of the game. I love this part of the game, and I realized why this time around. It's because it's the first actual fucking dungeon in the whole game.
Yeah.
Like, everything up until this point, a dungeon has been like 2 rooms and a bunch of cutscenes.
Yeah.
And now we have like an actual dungeon with actual maze, and you have to actually figure it out, and it takes a bit of time, and you have to actually think about like, if you're gonna stop and if you need to go back and use a tent, you actually have to think about your MP running low. You have to actually think about like regular RPG stuff, and that's really the first time in the game you have to do that. Because I like it.
The only one that's similar at all would be the cave when you and Bart fell in love.
Yeah.
But that one you're in your gear, so it's not even like the same sort of dungeon feel that this one does.
Yeah, it's not the same kind of thing. And even though it is a sewer, it's got nice music, which is, it doesn't have any music, so it's just got nice ambient sounds.
Yeah.
And the bad guys are interesting. They require different kinds of strategies to beat. And it's a good time. Also, just the way this develops so slowly. Like, you have a town that you don't spend 5 minutes in. You know, you spend a long time in it. You get to know it. It's this sense of place. Even though it takes way too damn long.
Yeah.
So yeah, you do that, and what comes of this? Nothing. There's not really a big twist or anything. You just find the monster and you kill it, and they're like,
kill Redrum.
Yeah, and they're like, cool, we killed it. Saitan says some stuff about how
yes, it
monster...
means to drum again.
Yeah.
The Saitan says some stuff about how this monster has like human intelligence and how it's kind of sad, and then apparently Saitan insists that we like bury the monster.
Yeah.
Which is fine, I guess. I got no sympathy for monsters, but I guess Saitan does.
Yeah.
Yeah, and as soon as that part's over, we get another nice little smash cut to a boardroom with who should be there, but it's Ellie. What's Ellie doing? Oh no, the plot's actually going to happen.
Oh no, plot, run away.
It was at this point where I'm like, all right, I'm almost done, because they say the word purge like 50 times. They're like, all right, we're going to purge. We're going to purge them at nighttime. It'll be at night purge. Night purge.
Which is the name of one of the chapters in this game. Yeah.
I'm like, all right, let's do this. Let's end it. Oh wait, no, there's 3 more chapters to do.
So when they talk about the night purge, I'm like, oh, like that's the next morning. So we're gonna cut to Faye waking up in the morning, and now the next day the purge is happening. But yeah, no, this is the part that I forgot. A lot of bullshit happens between now and the night purge that they're building up so much. So
Like
Ellie's being briefed on. Huh?
I was like, like in the middle here is like when we fight Champ, like after the sewer horror, then we can go back and fight Rico, and that's when I died a lot.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Also, so Rico and Saitan are both in your party here, and yeah, Rico is real slow but does a lot of damage. I like all of his animations, and he has a spell. His only useful spell is that he can increase his own attack, and if you do that, he does even more damage.
Yay!
It's great.
All of his moves are like wrestler moves, so he'll like fucking pile drive the enemies and shit. It's real good. Although, did y'all find that he dies a lot? Like his defense is weirdly low.
Yeah. There was one.
He's usually dead.
Well,
his HP and his defense is low, and for such, which is weird for such a slab of meat, for such a hunk.
Well,
skull,
it seems like they're trying to compensate in some ways, because like Faye is really strong, but he has kind of low HP. Saitan is kind of weak, but he's got really high HP.
Yeah, he's got bad HP.
So they're like trading off between the two, and
yeah, which
but
is
also there's no front or back like row system. So yeah, so Saitan, if Saitan isn't healing Rico like every turn, Rico's gonna die, because enemies in this start doing a lot of damage.
Yeah.
I will say,
over 100 damage.
At one point in the game, I had bought a fuck ton of Omega Souls because I was like, heals all HP and SP, and it only costs 50 each. Fucking fuck me up with those things. And it turns out you can't use them in battle. But after any battles where I found that I was getting really close to dying, I was like, I'm just going to shove Omega Souls up my Omega Soul hole.
Omega Soul.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Nice. This is one part where the game's design becomes a little funny, because there's still only one healing item you can use in battle, and it still only heals 50 HP. That's bizarre. Like in any other RPG, you would have gotten like super potions at this point.
Yeah, an Aqua Soul. I've gotten an Aqua Soul S, I thought.
Yeah, like
maybe
you have found high potions, but you can't buy high potions yet.
Yeah. Okay, I see what you mean.
Turns out, Eli, immediately after the point where you stop playing the game, when you're back in the city, you actually can then buy high potions. I didn't know that until I saw the game FAQs, and I already left the city, and I can't go back. So, but it's fine. Next time you get to, I'm sure you'll be able to buy them. So, yeah, it actually becomes an issue. It's like, oh, like if I want to heal in battle a lot, the only one who can do that is Saitan, because Faye's healing spell doesn't heal a whole lot. Saitan's heals like 3 times as much. And yeah, so he's got to be on heal duty. You can't just have anybody chunk items at each other like you do in other games. Yeah. So anyway, that resolves.
We glossed over what Elliot was saying in the thing. I joked about it being a night purge, but she actually goes into more stuff.
Yeah, I was about to get there. So yeah, so they're doing this purge because they found out that Faye, aka Knuckles the Echidna, who they're all scared of, is in Kislev, and they're like, what if we just kill everybody in Kislev? And they're like, okay, sounds good. Also,
question.
Hold on.
In this 100-year war, did they not ever think, what if we just bomb their capital this whole time? They're like, we have flying spaceships and they don't. Let's go bomb their capital.
Well, they also already see them as subhumans, so it's not like they would have moral
quandaries or anything.
Yeah. It's not like they would feel bad about that. They're just a bunch of sheeple.
Well, maybe they didn't have the technology to do it before. Also, before maybe the Ave guy, the stooge they had would have been like, no, let's not, or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
But at any rate, they're gonna escort this big ship. So they're like, yo, Ellie, you and your team of chumps, have to escort this big ship. And she's like, okay, I could do that, but why? What's the ship's mission? And they're like, we're not going to tell you. And Ellie's like not chill with this because she's probably read a single book ever and knows that the ship is probably going to like suicide bomb and blow up the entire town because that's obviously what's going to happen. Mm-hmm. But she's also worried because they have these like, I think these like suicide bomber ships, and they're like, just one would be enough to win any confrontation. Why do we have 8 of them? And she's like, what's going on? Her teammates have something interesting here. They're like, the teammates are like, hey, Ellie, let's give you some exposition that you would already know, but the reader doesn't know. We're third-class citizens, aka worker drones. We just do what we need to do to survive and have no loyalty to the upper class. But you're a first-class citizen, so it's weird for you to say stuff like this. It's weird for you to think it's wrong to murder people. Because most first-class citizens think it's fine. And then Ellie is like, aren't the lambs human just like us? And they're like, what? That's a ridiculous idea. Why would you even suggest such a thing?
Especially as a first-class citizen. Like, you should know better.
You're a first-class racist. So Ellie's like, I'll do the mission, but I won't do anything except just escort the ship. If you tell me to do anything else that's wrong, I'm out. So then you do the finals. And I personally thought that the oh no, we're not there yet. Why was Hammer like, don't forget to save your game, bro? I forget.
Because when you are about to head into the finals, he says, don't forget to save your game, because as soon as the finals are over, you get flung into
so Hammer is very conspicuous, like, hey bro, don't forget to record your memories on a memory cube. Like, you really should save your game, bro, like, for real. And I'm like, okay, I get it. There's a point of no return happening. So save your game.
This is the most, like, scary point of no return ever. Usually it's just like Sora feels that he won't be able to see his friends anymore after this point. Do you want to save? Here is just like, no, stop. Save your game,
seriously,
bro. And after you
do it,
and after you do it, when you go and talk to Hammer again, because he's still your supplier and he sells you items, he's like, after he sells you items, he's like, also, did you remember to save your game?
Oh my god.
Yeah, I love Hammer.
Stop hassling me.
So Hammer and Saitan are touching up your gear for the big day. It turns out that Rico's gear is supplied and maintained by the committee and always has the best parts. And Faye's like, dang it, can't we get better parts? But then Wise Man shows up again. Yay!
Yay! Everybody's favorite one of Faye's dads.
Speaking of the parts, real quick, Faye asks when they're like, oh, if you win, you can get pardoned. They're like, well, why is Rico still here if he's won 5 times? It's like, oh, because he just loves fighting that much. He's given up his pardon. And turns out he's given up his pardon to have the coolest sweet ass robot ever.
Yeah.
He's like, I don't want to be free, but can you get me like some laser lights on the bottom of this to like go along the road when I'm cruising?
And paint some flames on it.
Dude just loves fighting. He has other motivation too that will become clear later. But yeah, it's also just like, dude loves fighting. So Wise Man's like, Faye, you idiot, you utter moron. Haven't you learned anything? You're not going to win no matter how good your parts are. And then he disappears. But turns out he wasn't disappearing. He was just teleporting closer to you.
Yeah.
And you talk some more, and he's like, oh yeah, there's a little boss battle where you fight Wise Man, but it lasts like 2 seconds, and then you lose, and that's fine.
Oh, except this one is one where you're supposed to lose, but it doesn't do 9999 damage. It does a decent amount of damage, so I healed through all the damage that he was doing, and it took me like 30 minutes, and then I died. I was like, dang it, this is why he told me to save, bro. Except it then went to the cutscene. And I was like, I used a whole lot of my items in MP. I hope that I get an automatic refresh before the next bit.
Well, yeah. Luckily, I misjudged how much damage he was doing and died I was like, I can hit him one more time and then I'll heal after the next hit. But then he killed me, so luckily it didn't last long for me. So Wiseman's like, you can't beat Rico because of the huge difference in mass. Like, he's so much bigger than you that going head-to-head just isn't going to work. So you need to commit to a single powerful strike or whatever. And he tries to give you all this, like, fighting tips that turns out to not matter. So then...
Like, I thought that they would matter. Like, when I got there, I was like, oh, well, when I'm, like, punching him, he's tending to hurt me more than I'm hurting him. So maybe I'm supposed to do these cheesy bullshit things. But then the second time I fought him, I just punched him till he died. And he just went down really easy.
It's just a harder battle than usual, but it's not like there's a trick to it. So anyway, Faye's like, Wiseman, before you go, just tell me, are you my dad? That's not exactly what he says, but he might as well say that, right? He's like, are you my fucking dad or not? And so Wiseman fesses up, and he kind of tells you the whole damn story, assuming he's telling the truth. He's like...
This is twice now where I'm expecting someone to be duplicitous and tell us in Disc 3, and they're like, you know what? I'm not doing anything better. Let's just resolve this plot.
He's like, yeah, why bother having this be a plot twist 20 hours from now? Let's just get it out of the way.
It also, like, just because he says he's not Faye's dad doesn't mean that that's true.
He's definitely Faye's dad. Yeah. And I'm not saying that as a person who's played the game already. I don't actually remember. But I'm just saying he's clearly Faye's dad.
He's
like, I know all of these things because Khan and I were fellow students of the same master, but I also have accidentally messed up and said that, like, my master didn't train anyone but me. So,
wait, did you really say that?
Pretend you didn't hear that.
So anyway, so he's like, so me and your dad, we go way back. Faye's dad's name is Khan. They both went to Khan Academy.
Khan
Wong, yeah. Which seemed like they're different kinds of names, but whatever. So one thing that I think is cute is that Wiseman didn't actually know Faye had lost his memory. Which I think is really funny, because it's just like, that's such a trope in RPGs. You never think like, oh, right. Not everyone is aware of this trope. So Faye's like, are you my dad or not? What happened to my dad? And he's like, oh, you don't know. I wasn't trying to not tell you. I just didn't realize. Anyway, long story short, he and Faye's dad go way back. Khan became a military general, notably not saying for whom, and met Karen. She was, and Wiseman says, she was like a flower in full bloom. And Faye's like, flower? And Titan's like, that means she was hot, dude. So anyway, Wiseman goes off on his own travels, but he gets letters from Khan. Karen dies when Faye's young. Faye has special powers. A bad man, Graf, wants Faye's special powers, so he kidnaps Faye. And Khan sends a letter to Wiseman that's like, yo, my son got kidnapped by Graf. We gotta go save him. One day they find Graf. Graf kicks Khan's ass and Faye's ass, and they're about to die, but then Khan manages to drive Graf off. Graf runs off, but Khan chases him. Khan's like, look, Wiseman, you take Faye to safety. He's almost dead, but please take him to a random RPG town to safety. I'm gonna go chase the bad guy. And Khan says, I gotta chase Graf, not just for my son, but for the entire world. It's very, very important. If anything happens to me, Wiseman, you need to finish the job. And Khan hasn't been seen since. So, yeah.
Because he's wearing that weird mask.
Yep. So Wiseman, who...
You can't see him if he's using the mask.
So Wiseman's friend, Faye's dad, hasn't been seen since. But then Faye's like, one more question. You just said my dad was a military officer, but for what military? And he's like, oh yeah, your dad was military for the secret country that's floating in the sky that we've already talked about this whole game. The floating country in the sky of Shivat?
Which is a different one.
And that's when you realize that this game is so extra that it has two secret floating countries and not just one. Because one would be too simple. Also, Shivat owns. We'll go there later. So now there's kind of a long-term goal. Faye kind of like wants to go to Shivat one day to see what the fuck is up with his dad.
Right when Wiseman leaves, Faye says something that was my favorite screenshot of this section, where he goes, ever since that tournament in Ave, he sure is a mysterious person, which is what his name was when you first met him.
I love that. Yeah, so I beat Rico super easy, but then after you beat him, all of his Rico's posse are like, you cheated, and Hammer goes, bro won on his own strength, Stop trying to trump up false accusations, which, again, regular way that people talk, especially
yeah.
There's this really cool technique they start doing here. There's a fade out where, like, literally they're all talking, and then Hammer starts talking, and as his dialogue is still scrolling onto the screen, like, fades out and interrupts him talking, and it's really fucking funny.
That doesn't work with fast text. I got to read his text, and then the screen faded out.
Yeah, like, you don't even get to finish reading what he's saying. It just fades out, and it's like, yeah, no one cares about Hammer, not even the game engine. So you cut to Rico. He's sad. He's, like, sad in a deeper way than just I lost. It's more ponderous than that, but, like, you know, whatever. He's just sad. We'll find out why later. Also, at this point, Rico and Faye are super bros, because he's like, before they fight, he's like, bro, you gotta give it your all. And Faye's like, but aren't you injured in the fight against the monster? And he's like, dude, we both gotta give it our all, or it's not a fair fight, man. Like, we gotta bring out each other's strength, you know? Like, I'm here for you. Like, we need to have this intimate fight that only two bros can have.
Yeah.
And then after you win, it's the same thing. He's like, nah, man, you won fair and square, even though I was injured. We're buds. Yeah, so then Ellie, again, is like, why are there 8 bomber thingies? They're being remote controlled. Who controls them? And then a hot chick shows up. Her name is Dominia, and I'd like her to Dominia me, if you know what I'm saying.
She's the main character of Tales of Legendia for the PS2.
Really? She is a big titty goth GF, even though she has white hair. And she just says it. She's like, yeah, I shouldn't tell you this, but I'll just tell you. We're going to blow up the nuclear reactor and totally destroy all of Kislev. It'll be uninhabitable for hundreds of years. And Ellie's like, that's bad. And then Dominia's like, yeah, I'm actually a lamb, but I was taken by Solaris as a child and personally chosen by Ramses to be the leader. So, like, I've got a chip on my shoulder. And Ellie, you're just weak. You're just a bougie idiot who can't do anything, too weak to do what's necessary. So now we know what's going to happen. So now Faye and co, they're free, and you get to travel around the city. You can even exit to the world map if you feel like it. And you get to go to what?
One thing I wanted to bring up about this stuff with Ellie, because I just thought about it. This is a little bit of the stuff you foreshadowed back during Rogue Galaxy about how Ellie was going to be a weak, nothing, no good JRPG chick, but get there in a cool way. And this is kind of the cool way. Like, this whole pointless thing with her and her men of them being like, oh, we're third class citizens and you're first class. Like, Saitan and Sigurd both were third class citizens where, like, shit was hard so they could defect. But she, like, has it so good, but she's such an awesome person that she still could see the evil of everything and defect to come and be your bro or whatever. And so it's like, this is like, makes her a really interesting character for a backstory. Functionally, she's just the damsel that you save about 3 times.
But the reason that she's weak is because she's disillusioned and has lost her complete, like, ideological system, right? Like, she was just being a good little Nazi. But now she realizes that being Nazi is bad, and she's like, "Fuck, what do I do?" And yeah, it's like crippling. It's really neat. And I think, and this is the arc of the game where she finally becomes her own character and becomes a party member. Spoiler.
Yeah.
Because she finishes her thing. They say some stuff about how Kislev has the gatekeeper, and it doesn't really make sense to me. I don't get it. They're trying to destroy a thing called the gatekeeper. I don't know.
Yeah.
So you already thought you've explored D block, and it was a large RPG town. Turns out there's a whole nother block, A block, which is another RPG town that you get to explore. There's a lot of shit and a lot of NPCs, and this is the part where I'm like, I forgot that this happens in the game. This is longer than I thought. There's a lot of fun stuff here. You meet that dude, that weird, Johnny from Chrono Trigger. Like, you meet that guy again that you fought in the tournament. The weird rock and roll man.
Yeah, Big Rob or whatever. Big Joe.
Big Joe, yeah. And he's like, hey man, there's something cool back in the alley. And you're like, is it? And you're like, give me a bunch of money and I'll let you see it. And you're like, okay. And then you run back to the alley and there's like nothing there. And he's like, gotcha. It's really stupid.
I didn't have enough money at the time, and I'm like, well, I'm not going to do that.
I had so much money that I was like, I don't care. So I did it. So then you go and you meet the Kaiser because the Kaiser wants to see you. And you go there, and again, it's another area. It's the Kaiser's palace. It's a huge fucking palace. There's a cute dog at one point.
Yay.
Did y'all do the optional platforming challenge?
The one in the sewers?
Oh, yes, I did. Because...
Oh, not the sewer one, but the other one.
Oh, the sewer.
I did the sewer one, and I didn't see one in the palace.
Eli, did you do it?
No, I didn't see the one in the palace.
Oh, okay. Yeah, now in this one room, it's like there's a thing you want to jump over, but there's a crane, and you have to move the crane, and the crane's like a mini game where the crane moves, and you have to dodge objects, and if you hit an object, then the crane stops moving, so you have to dodge all the objects, and then when you get the crane to the end, it makes a platform that you can jump on and get the item. It's good shit. I don't remember what the item is.
Clearly it was...
That one sounds way better than the one in the sewers, which involved me getting up to the top and then not being able to see with the horrible camera controls and then falling down all the way to the ground over and over.
At least in the sewers, I mean, like, as opposed to previous platforming things I've had to do, there's no fucking monsters.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, that's true. There's 2 annoying platforming challenges in this game, in this section, both of which are optional and both of which have no monsters.
Yeah.
Yeah, so at any rate, they talk with the Kaiser, and he doesn't really say much. He's just like, sup, and then he's like, we should team up. But he doesn't get to say against Tomb. He's just like, we should team up. And you think he's probably going to say against Gebler or whatever. But before any of that can happen, Rico falls out of the ceiling. And there was foreshadowing earlier, but I didn't feel like mentioning it, that he was doing this. So Rico falls out of the ceiling, and the Kaiser is like, Rico is trying to assassinate me. And it's not clear if he actually was trying to do that or if he's just some weird idiot. So Rico runs off, and he goes into this one room, and everyone's like, only the Kaiser and the Kaiser's dead wife can go to this room because it's got a DNA scanner. And Rico, not knowing that, is just like, I need to run away somewhere. So he walks up to the door of the room, and it just fucking opens. And he goes in,
That's interesting.
And then he goes into the room, and he's like, this room seems familiar. I recognize this smell. And then there's a bunch of flashbacks where it turns out that the Kaiser had a bastard child, or maybe not a bastard child. He either had a child with his wife or with someone else, but then it turned out that the child was fucked up and was a mutant. So he got rid of the child and made the child go live in some random village. And the child was actually Rico.
The way I took it is the wife gave birth to a monster, and he's like, well, take this kid and kill him. And the wife was like, no, let me just take him and go. And so the dead wife, I think, was just state secrets of like, oh, she's dead, but she's not dead. She just went to go and raise Rico.
Oh, no, because remember there was a line about how that wasn't actually his mom.
What was that you cut out?
Remember there was a line about how that wasn't actually his mom in the flashbacks, though.
It literally cut out on. There was a part about again.
Sorry. That in the flashbacks he says that the lady raising him wasn't actually his mom.
Oh, I didn't see that because I just see him saying, "Mother, why does Ginny have a father but I don't?" So
right.
Yeah.
My mother? You mean my mom? Yeah. So however way you parse it, he's raised by this lady in a little village. Who, again, I think there's a line later where he realizes it's not actually his real mom, so it's just like a maid or something. Anyway, point is, he feels rejected because his daddy didn't want him, and his mom either was that nun or his mom actually died. And he feels indebted to Kislev. He loves the city of Kislev, and he wants to feel like it's his home, and that's why he never leaves. Not because he loves battling, but because this is actually his home that he was rejected from as a child, and all he wants for is his daddy to love him. Except not really.
We all want?
Yeah, it is what we all want. Faye utilizes good infosec for once. You get back to the inn, and what's his name? Hammer is like, Faye, I figured something out. We're gonna fucking sneak in and steal shit from Kislev. And Faye's like, not here, you idiot. We're in the middle of public. Let's go into a private room. For the first time in the entire game, someone thinks about that.
Yeah.
It's the second time you just entered from the wrong door back in.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Wherever the heck the nun was like that then.
That's true. Yeah. So then so basically, Hammer is just like, yo, man, we gotta steal your gear back. And he's like, yeah, we do. So they make a plan to steal the gear. But then those battlers show up again, and they're like, hey, so here's what was going on with Rico. Ethos controls the battling arena and a lot of the politics in this place. They're like a weird, secret group that controls the battling arena. And the Kaiser doesn't like Ethos. He doesn't like this weird religious sect having so much power in his country. So he pushed back on them and removed them from the government, and also removed or lessened their influence on battling. But Ethos doesn't like that, so Ethos had Rico try to assassinate the Kaiser. And I'm like, that explains it. But now they're going to publicly execute Rico in the battling arena tomorrow morning. So you go through this long-ass dungeon where you go...
So Hammer, when he had bad infosec, he was like, we can get to your gear in one of two ways.
Yeah,
we can
exactly.
sneak on this train, or you can go through the arena. And he's like, well, I can't go through the arena. So then they show up and they're like, Rico's going to be killed in the arena. And Faye's like, doors will work two ways. So I can go get my gear and then save Rico from the arena. And everyone's like, that's a bad idea. And Faye's like, I don't care. It makes for a good dungeon.
Yeah. And also he's like, I gotta save my new boyfriend, basically.
Yeah.
Faye just really vibed with everybody he meets instantly.
Well,
he's such a sweet guy.
Bart died, so he's
got to move on.
Yeah.
He's rebounding.
Yeah, that's the word I was trying to find. He's rebounding.
Someone needs to tell poor Rico that Faye's just rebounding. This isn't really like it's not
Rico's gonna get his heart broken.
Yeah, exactly.
Like
oh my God.
when we find out that Bart's alive.
Yeah, I was going to say, especially because this is a JRPG and Disc 3, he's going to come back alive.
Sparks are gonna fly. No, this is a JRPG, so you know that after this little subplot with Rico is over, Rico will never have another line of dialogue.
Yeah.
After he joins the party as a main party member, he no longer has a story of his own.
Yeah. Octopath Traveler. Sorry.
Yep. Anyway, yeah, you go through this dungeon. It's actually a fucking cool ass dungeon. There's these. It's. We already did the sewer, so now we're doing the air duct thing. Mm-hmm. But then you go through the not air ducts because you get a key, and it's a lot of fun. The battle encounter rate is really fucking high.
Yeah.
And they brought my least there was one mob I ran from every single time in the sewers because they would confuse you. Like right off the bat, everybody, and you couldn't do anything.
Fucking bat rats.
And so then the bat rats are like the main mob in this one, and I'm like, you already were a Zubat, now you're coming at me like Zubats, and then you also make it where I can't do anything. So I just ran. I ran from every battle in this dungeon.
Yeah,
until we got the key, and I started fighting humans, and then I fought the humans to grind.
Yep. I love how there's enemy mobs in this game that are just people, and you just fucking kill them. Yeah. It's not like, we gotta find excuses to make you fight not people because it's a kid's game. It's like, nah, you just kill them.
And it's not even like
whatever.
Bandits or scary people like some games. It's just like, no, these are just people doing their job.
They're just security guards. They work here. They're not even like they're not even part of the bad Nazi country.
No.
I mean, they are cops, so
Yeah.
It's fine. So anyway, you have a big, exciting adventure, where you go through the dungeon and you find your gears and you get the gears, and then you save Rico, and he had to fight a big monster. He had to fight a palette swap of the dinosaur from the forest earlier in the game.
It wasn't a palette swap. It was that one. It dies to one death blow. It was supposed to be you finally get to fight Vile and feel awesome type moment.
Nice. Yeah, so it's good shit. Does anything particularly important happen here besides just you rescue Rico?
So I just wanted to talk about how awesome the dungeon is, except I accidentally guessed right on every single pathway. And so it was a hallway for me. And so it was like a really pretty hallway. And I knew I probably was passing up like a super weapon that would help me out in the next fight. But I got the one that healed me, and I felt like that was good enough. And so I just made my way to the exit.
Yeah.
That's the main one. It's actually a great dungeon, yeah. I was just skipping over it for time's sake. But yeah, it's got this Metal Gear Solid thing where you keep seeing these grates in the bottom of the air vent, and you can click on them, and you can look through it, and it gives you little previews. Like you might see a guard room where guards are chatting about stuff. Or you might see, there's Weltall. And stuff like that. It's pretty cool. And then at some point all the guards leave, so then if you look through the air vents, there aren't any guards. And it's a pretty complicated maze, but not like too complicated, and it's also not that long, so it's not that annoying. I really enjoyed this dungeon. What about you, Eli?
Yeah, it was pretty cool. I liked the look of it. I didn't like the bat rats, but I had a guide that I was using through the majority of this because I have just found myself getting too frustrated with games that I don't know very well.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel better just having a guide for it, and so it was telling me where to go to get everything. And
I'm very pro guide. Like, I don't think, like, as long as you are getting enjoyment and using the guide doesn't then just like ruin it for you, then use the guide. It's fine.
Oh yeah,
it's not like this is a puzzle game or anything.
Like you looking up solutions to like Angry Birds puzzles or something would like that I feel would ruin it, but
that's the whole game. That's all you do.
Exactly. You're not just like losing, skipping the actual damn game.
But this, where it's like I'm trying to get through a dungeon as quickly as I can because it's 3 a.m. I need that fucking guide.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
And I still didn't get far enough.
It's okay. Yeah. You literally have one boss battle and 5 minutes of cutscene. Like, it's
okay.
You're not. Fine. You don't have a lot to catch up on. It's no big deal.
So after all of this shenanigans, all of this doing the stuff, it's finally time for the damn purge. It finally shows up. The train has arrived. So it's nighttime, and they're all just chilling, and then all of a sudden, bomb noises and violence, and they do the thing where they use the little the tiny model of the town and have the ships flying around, and they're being shot at by a bunch of missiles, and it's real exciting.
It's really pretty. Like, I took a screenshot of it. It's great.
Yeah, and there's a bunch of graphics, so many graphics. And they're like, oh no, there's a giant ship called the Heimdall. It's not called the Heimdall. It's called the Hecht, which I'm sure is a reference to something, probably Wagner. Actually, I think that Takahashi and Co. didn't know who Wagner was until they made Xenosaga, because Saga is full of Wagner references, but this one's all just Judeo-Christian references. So I think they hadn't figured out about Wagner yet. So at any rate, or Nietzsche. So at any rate, they're like, we got to stop it. I think Saitan kind of immediately realized what's going on. He's like, that ship is heading directly for the nuclear power plant.
That's literally what he does. You come out of Weltall, you're like, what's going on? He goes, Faye, it's an aerial attack by Ave, or should I say Gebler. That ship is heading to the power plant. Oh no, it's a nuclear reactor. 2 text boxes right after one another. He gets you caught up.
So yeah, they didn't have to be smart or figure it out because they have a friendly neighborhood Saitan there to explain it.
Yeah.
Which is good because we already know what's happening. So why should we have to wait for the characters to figure it out?
Yeah. Especially because like this doesn't have like in movies you have like I'll tell you on the way and they cut, but like you can't really do that in games that much. So thankfully we have Saitan to just like sum it up in 2 sentences, so we're not sitting there reading the same thing 40 times.
So they're like, Rico, you gotta help, and Rico's like, yeah, okay. I'm from here. I love this town. I want to help. So at any rate,
first he says no, and he runs off, and then
he helps later.
Like two fights, and he's like, nah, I like this place too. We're bros.
That's right. Yeah, for some reason I'm a dummy. I was like, I know Rico doesn't help till later, but you have 2 gears at this point. I guess I just forgot Saitan exists. So I was like, who's the other character again? Is it Rico? No, it's Saitan. Yeah. So you and Saitan go up to stop the ship. But the ship is being guarded by.
You're by yourself. The second gear is what's his face. You fight the first 3 bosses by yourself.
They're solo fights. Oh, yeah. Okay. I was very sleepy when I played this part. So this is the part where I totally would have been done playing on time easily, but then my Vita died and my charger didn't work. And I was like, oh fuck. Turns out it's because the charger draws a lot of power, and the wall plug I was using wasn't my normal wall plug, and I guess it supplies less power. So it wasn't charging the Vita, so I had to find a different wall plug that used more power. Turns out I stole the wall plug from the Nintendo Switch because I figured that thing probably gets a lot of power. But then I had to wait another hour for it to be charged enough so I could play it. So now it's 3 a.m. and I was expecting to be done already. I tried to be responsible this time. But anyway, so you fight 2 of them. You fight fucking you see a scene with Rank and all them and Ellie. and they're doing their mission, and then who does Ellie see coming up to stop them but Faye? And she's like, no, not Faye.
Literally anyone but Faye.
Literally, why does this keep happening? And Rank is like, I want to fight Faye, but not for the mission. We're just rivals, and it's like a healthy like competition. I want to be better than him. And it's like, man, everyone's got this like gladiator spirit. It's very traditionally masculine.
What I think is great is Rank says that and then runs off, but he's the tank, and when you fight the tank by themselves, they die really easy because they're like, oh, let me do all my debuff spells on you, and they're like, you have to hit me for these to matter, dude.
By the time if I can hit you, he's dead already. Yeah. So you fight two of them. And they're piddly.
The second one is slightly harder because he's faster than you, but good thing you have boost, and you just boost and you take him down.
Exactly. So cut to Saitan and Hammer. They're on the ground helping evacuate the city. And Rico is like, fuck this town sucks. But then he basically says, this town sucks, but wait, I suck. so this, which is like, that's how I feel whenever I'm on Twitter, you know? I'm like, this sucks, but it's where I belong. I don't deserve better, basically. So then he decides he's gonna help. So then you fight two more of them, right?
Yeah.
And
they're still super easy.
They're still super easy.
Especially now because like Faye is worn down on HP and fuel, but he can just guard because you have a second person that can do the entire fight by himself.
Yep, exactly. So now finally you fight Ellie. Ellie and Faye fight again, and Faye's like, don't fight, and Ellie's like, I have to fight. Oh, but I can't because I like you. And then Faye is like, you know what? Fuck it. Come over here. And she's like, what do you mean come over here? And he's literally like, let's go on a little date while we're in the middle of this dramatic...
robot date.
A little robo date while we're in the middle of this situation. It's like, the ship is still going towards the power plant. How slow is the ship flying? So they literally go down to like a scenic part of the village. I'm exaggerating a little bit, but they go to like a nice little view overlooking the town, like frickin' like Makeout Point or whatever. And they get out of their robots and they start like chatting. And he's like, "Look at this town. Everything the light touches belongs to you." And Ellie,
it's on fire because of you.
Yeah, and Ellie is like, she has a little thing where she's like, "You have the freedom, Faye. You have freedom to do what you want, and I almost envy you because, you know, you have the freedom to do what you want because you don't have a home, you know, because
I broke
reasons. I don't have the freedom to choose a different path. This is the path I was born into, and I have to follow, and I don't have the freedom that you have because I destroyed your village." And Faye's like, no, you can just leave. You can just stop. It's fine.
I actually really liked Faye's quote right here. Because she's like, you're just fight. Like if everybody's gone, you must be fighting for nothing. And he's like, I'm not fighting for nothing, but I still don't know what I should do. Maybe I'm just looking for a place to fit in, but I think it's better to fight than to do nothing. If fighting helps you or your friends even a bit, then it's worthwhile, and that's not nothing. It's something.
Yeah, it's actually really fucking inspiring. It reminds me of my favorite line from Speed Racer, where someone says like, racing can't change the world, and he goes, yeah, but it's the only thing I know how to do, and I gotta do something. Yeah, which is actually like literally like my fucking life motto. It's like, I don't have a lot of things I can do, but I have to do something, right? And Faye's like, all I'm good at is fighting. I just want to help my friends, even if I don't understand what it's all for. You have to find a reason to live, basically, and it's kind of awesome.
And like the scene I really liked because it was like taking me on that journey where I was like, Faye, you're like, I was siding with Ellie. I was like, you really don't have any agency so far in this game. You're just reacting. And he's like, well, yeah, because I care about the people around me. Of course I'm going to react to the plot that happens to me. And I'm like, you're right. Good on you, Faye.
Yeah, it's good shit.
Yeah.
So anyway, so Faye's like, oh, right, we were supposed to be doing something, weren't we?
Let's go do it.
So he gets in his robot and flies off, and Ellie's just sitting there. And you're like, I'm sure she'll show up later in a dramatic moment, and she does. Yeah, so then you try to move the ship. It's a real, like, Superman airplane situation. Faye's at the front of the ship.
This is where Eli saved. So Eli, be sure to ask questions if we gloss over stuff.
Right. So here's where you get a little Luna saying, "Do you want to save?" And then you get to continue. So here's what happens, Eli. The ship's heading. you go to you have one final fight. It's the person driving the ship. So it's not one of the things where you're on top of the big ship and you are fighting like the top of it, like the cannons and shit.
Mm-hmm.
It's actually a pretty interesting fight, but I won't bother talking about it for this. It's for the sense of time.
Especially because it's an interesting fight, but they heal you to full at the save point. So all you have to do is just keep punching the head until they die. And then she gets like, "Oh, look at this super awesome weapon! It'll do 1,000 damage." And I'm like, "I have 5,000 health, so I'm just going to keep punching you in the face till you die."
See, I was scared enough about it that I actually did fight it because it does do a shit ton of damage. And I was like, "Yeah, if that thing hits you 2 or 3 more times, I'll be dead." And I don't know how long the fight's going to go. So the strategy, if you care to use it, is that she makes this weapon appear that's a separate target you can attack, and then after a certain number of hits, it kind of hits you for a gazillion damage. But you can't really hit it fast enough to kill it. So you basically, if you're boosted, you boost and then wail on that thing instead, and then you kill it before it hits you, and then you go back to hitting the head. And if you don't hit it instead of hitting the head, then it'll do like 1,500 damage, which is scary. But I realized the first time that even if you wail on it all you can, it won't die before it hits you, unless you're also boosting.
Yeah.
So it's kind of cool. So you fight it, and then again, Faye and Saitan and Rico are all at the front of the ship trying to push it.
Saitan's not there. Saitan is helping Hammer evacuate people.
I mean, it doesn't really matter who's where, but yeah, a point is he's there.
You're just the Saitan stan. You want Saitan to be everywhere.
Well, I'm just like, what else is he gonna do? The point is,
save
some number
all
of
of the
gears,
people that you're trying to save.
Some number of gears are trying to move the ship, and they're like, "Ugh, it's not enough." And Faye says, "Damn, there's too much mass." Which I just
rude.
I've had that situation happen in the past. That's how I feel when I step on the scale. Damn, there's too much mass. And of course, who should appear because they need a little bit more strength. If only there was one more gear to help us in this situation. And Ellie's gear shows up, right? And she's like, "I'll help you," and they push it. And then you see the ship slowly changing its trajectory, right? The problem is
physics stops working because they're like, "We can't push it any farther." I'm like, "Yes, you can." It's not like a wall that keeps you from pushing ships. It's not how physics works.
Remember, their gear's like running out of energy, right? Like they're going to overheat.
Yeah, but that so they're trying to push it to the side, and they're like, "We can't push it any farther, so let's just try and stop it." And that's when they start overheating. So they like ran into the skybox, couldn't push it over anymore. So they had to just try and slow it down.
So long story short,
oh my god, you guys, are we in a video game?
So long story short, they pushed it away from the nuclear plant, but now it's going to hit the actual city. Mm-hmm. And at no point are they like they're like a tragedy to hit the city, and like don't be wrong, that would be bad. But at no point is someone like, "Oh, but Saitan evacuated them all, so it's not the hugest tragedy." Even though that is definitely the case that happened, it's interesting. So anyway, they're like, "We can't do it." So then Rico bows out first. He's like, "Dude, if we don't stop right now, like we're gonna like die." So he's like, "We can't do anymore." So he pieces out, and then Faye goes a little longer. And then he pieces out, and then Ellie stays because she's now motivated, right? She wants to be a good person now. And they're like, "Ellie, don't!" And Faye says I don't know how many times he said this already. He's gonna say it many more times in this game. Ellie. There's at some point in the game there's a voice acted scene, like an anime scene where he says that, and that's how he says it. Ellie. So now anytime I want Eli to show up on the chat, that's what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Eli. Anyway, she doesn't give up at all. She keeps trying to push it, and she succeeds in pushing it to like a less occupied part of the town. And then it blows the fuck up, but she's still in front of it, so like it should have like killed her. But
no, she falls away dramatically. Like she runs out of power, and then she falls down, and then it crashes.
Right, but it still crashes like on her, kind of. Yeah, because like she didn't peace out, right? So she falls dramatically down, and then the ship falls down. Right? Yeah. So it's very dramatic. It's like slow mo and shit, and like choir music is playing and all that shit.
It's the choir music.
Yeah,
it's
the choir song. Yeah,
super edgelord title for the super pretty song from before.
Yeah. Oh, we forgot to mention the organ song that was being played is the same song, but on organ.
Oh, I didn't. I
noticed that.
Yeah, yeah. So I don't know if that's diegetic or not. Like, does the Kislev guy, is he playing the song that the Nissan nuns sing? I think probably yes is the answer. Although I don't know. Maybe he's allied with them. Maybe he's secretly a Nissan. Maybe he believes in their religion. Maybe he just thinks it's a night. Maybe he just thinks it's a bop. You know? He heard it one time at a concert. And he's like, ooh, I got to get the sheet music for that.
I'm not religious, but Kanye West's gospel song from Life of Padre, it's fucking bops. So
Exactly.
You mean
like,
Yee's song?
Yeah, Yee's song. Yandi's song. Oh my god! Don't even talk to me about Kanye right now. Kanye is wildin'.
He's wildin' all the way out.
Oh my god. He's such a fucking hoe. I love it. So at any rate, so you think Ellie would die here, but then there's some weird surrealistic scenes where like some weird like angel appears from off screen. And basically an angel shows up and saves Ellie by like shielding her with its wings. It's like a robot angel, but it's still like an angel. And that's pretty much it, right? There's no like big explanation of what's going on there yet, right? It just kind of happens.
It doesn't say anything about the angel person.
Yeah, just kind of happens, and she doesn't die. So that's nice. Then there's kind of slightly anticlimactically, it kind of just like fades to black, and then it fades up, and you're in a town, and you're just like, cool, we did it.
The angel gear looks like Ravemon from Digimon, and I just put it in the chat.
Of course it does.
Which, of course it does. Everything in a thing about giant robots resembles the monster show where everything is a giant robot. That's how it works.
Exactly. So that's it. You save the day. You wake up and you're in the town. Not even wake up. It's just it fades from black and you are now just chatting in a room. And they're like, cool, we saved the day. And Ellie's there now. She's part of the party. And so is Saitan and Hammer's there. And they're like, how do we get out of Kislev? Because, like, it's under martial law. Like, it's the only town that exists in the country because this is a JRPG. The only exit is guarded. Like, the mountain pass is it's a military checkpoint. So
how did Saitan get in the first place?
Who in fucking knows? Saitan is Saitan. He's ubiquitous.
Like, he gets in through the plot hole, obviously.
Yeah. He's like, I'm a doctor, right? Y'all need doctors.
He's a doctor without borders.
Exactly. So he can go through the border. So at any rate, the most obvious solution, of course, when you're in a country with a military checkpoint, it's not like, what if we snuck around a mountain pass, or what if we found some other solution? No.
What if we stole their experimental battleship?
What if we snuck into their most secret of all possible military bases, stole their extremely high-tech new experimental battleship, and then flew that battleship over the border? This is clearly the easiest possible thing we could do here. And that's what's going to happen in the next chapter. A little bit more plot, though. They're like, but how do we get out of this town? And, not only do we have to get out of the country, you have to get out of the town. And they're like, well, there's a slightly less experimental, slightly less secret battleship we can steal first to fly out of the town. No, that's not what happens. There's a really cute scene here, actually, where they're like, we'll have to fight our way out. So you go to the, also you're like, Rico, you should come with us. And he's like, nah. And you go to the edge of the town, and there's 3 guards, and you think you're going to have to fight them. And the first guard is like, hey, that's that wanted guy. And the second guard is like, yeah, but you know what they say? Everyone's got 2 or 3 people who look just like them in the world.
And then he's like, and the person that this guy looks like was the winner of the battles, so there's no way we could stop them. So let's just look the other way, and we'll just get written up about it at work later. And then the third guy's like, oh, hey, it's the wanted guy from all those battles. And they turn around, they're like, Joey, you ruin everything.
Like 2 of them are trying to ignore him. The other guy's like, hey, it's Faye, let's kick his ass. And they're like, fuck, now we got to kick his ass. So you can choose to run away, which just means you get to explore the town a little more. Or you can choose to fight them, and you think, first of all, you're thinking, why are they making it, like, Faye's like, oh shit, this is a big deal, maybe we should run away, this is too dangerous. And I'm like, Faye, just kick their ass, it's just 3 soldiers, it's not that hard, right? Just go into the battle system, use 3 death blows on them, and they're dead. It's not that hard. But this is a cutscene,
especially because, so like, dangerous. You have Ellie and Saitan in your party now. You have a 3 party.
You'll just annihilate them.
It'll be one turn.
But at any rate, though, it doesn't go into a battle at all because they have to play up like it's a dramatic thing. So Rico shows up and just kills all three of them. Like the sprite runs into them and like punches them, and then it does the thing where the sprite like flickers and disappears, right? Which is RPG speak for we're no longer showing the character model, so they're just white. They're not just dead; they're like annihilated from the timeline, like fucking Doctor Who style. So Rico's like, I decided to go with y'all after all. Basically, he's like, I still want to come back here one of these days because this is my home, but I probably should lay low for a bit, so I'll help y'all out. Rico joined the party, and I actually wasn't joking earlier when I said after this point Rico basically doesn't have lines, because his little character arc is over, so fuck him, right? And that's it. You exit the town, you get to the world map, and now you're in the chapter called Secret Weapon. So you're gonna go steal.
You're back.
Yeah, you just save on the world map, and you're good.
Yeah, so a lot happens. It's like the plot was happening, and there are all these mysteries, and then we were stuck in a prison for 8 hours.
And after all of this, everything happened. We're still our second shortest Xenogears episode because all that happened was a lot of dungeon, like 2.5 dungeons, an entire tournament, and a boss rush, which is a lot of gameplay, but not a lot of plot.
Yeah. And most of it was inconsequential, like, it doesn't matter about the Kislev and saving the day and all that, because after you save the day, like, there's no ramifications of what happened in this plot because the bad thing didn't happen. So it basically was just a way to get it was Rico and Ellie going through their character moments and joining your party, and also Hammer. Hammer. I didn't say much about Hammer, but he's hilarious. The writing between Faye and Hammer. Y'all notice how weird Faye is around Hammer?
Yeah.
You meet Hammer in one scene, and by the next scene, Faye's acting like y'all have been best friends forever. He's like, that Hammer, oh Hammer, that we all know and love. You sure are being like yourself, you Hammer, you buddy old guy. Like he treats him like he's his old friend, and like they're all just enjoying his shenanigans. That Hammer, it's and Faye gets so. Faye's very energetic in this chapter. It's very odd. Maybe he's like in his element, He's like, there's a fighting tournament, there's a monster, I get to fight Gears. It's like he's been going through all this depression.
I've made friends with a big weird rat guy.
And I mean, for the past 3 years, he's been living in Lahan where he didn't know anybody there. So he's like, look, I don't know anybody. I get a fight, and there's people I care about. Those are the 3 things that Faye likes.
It really is like in the previous couple chapters, he had all this depression and anxiety and was trying to figure out himself. And now he's just like, it's like he's achieved some level of like self-integration, He got some therapy, and now he's just like, I'm loving this, you guys. This is great. And like, even when he says, let's go save Rico, they're like, we really don't have to. And I think cute moment that I skipped. When he saves Rico, Rico's like, you saved me, bro? Like, wow, what an amazing thing to do to save someone's life. And Faye's like, nah, dude, look, it was on the way. Like, we were already escaping. Yeah. You were right there.
I like that scene a lot.
And Faye literally basically tries to like pretend like he doesn't care about Rico and that he was just doing it because it was convenient and it really was no big deal, and and hiding the fact that he is that Rico is his new best friend. It's real cute.
Yeah. I just wish this chapter was localized better, because at the beginning I was like, wait, no, Faye, you're like, you just said that you were going to do it. Oh, you're being cute, but it's because it's jilted Saitan Faye this chapter. It was harder to follow, so it didn't come off great. But like once I got it, I loved it.
Yeah, maybe something in the spreadsheet got mixed up, and they thought all of Faye's lines were Saitan's lines, so that's why they're written all loquaciously. And it's maybe Faye. Oh wait, Faye's in prison. You know what you do in prison a lot of the time when you have nothing to do? You like read books, right? Like there's an inside. There's like a prison books charity.
He's been learning a book or two.
He found a thesaurus, and he's trying out his word of the day each day, right?
Cornucopia.
That's all the books they have are thesauruses and dictionaries and shit.
Yeah, so he's learning all these fancy new words and being more like Saitan, or he's cooped up in here with Saitan.
If only they had Psychology 101, so we would recognize everybody's name.
I was gonna say they have such a shitty selection of books because they've got such an amazing chef working for them. They can't afford any good books.
Oh, right.
They've just got reference bullshit.
That's why but that's why he says shit about how his self is not integrated, because they have like one psychology book.
He's talking about his id and his superego, but just wait.
Funny you should say that. You remember that weird dream sequence where there were 3 fays? That's literally what's happening there. So anyway, that's it for the week. Let's do best and worst parts. Eli, worst part.
Having to do real-time robot fights.
Yep.
What a fucking surprise, I'd say that.
Yeah, let's see. Worst part for me. None of it. It's all great.
The worst part for me is I'm really coming to a head with the camera in this game. It's like Eli has hit the platforming like hard from episode 1, and like that's obviously going to be his standing least favorite part is any chapter where there's a platforming puzzle. I'm surprised you did the one in the sewers because that one was ridiculous. But
it was, but it only took me 2 tries, surprisingly.
And it took me like 6.
Really? Yeah, it only took me a couple of tries because like I think the first time I had misjudged where I was supposed to jump. But then there were no monsters in there, so I was like, this is tolerable. I can do this.
Well, you gotta try it a few times, but it only takes like a second, so whatever.
But yeah, I too many times was like, there's no camera angle that works here. There's a when you get to the end where you have to escape. There's one alleyway that normally leads to the world map that they didn't even put guards in front of. There's just like nothing there, but they took off the loading zone because they want you to go to the other one. So I'm running down this alleyway, and all 8 directions they give me, I can't see at all. Just know that it's just not working, and you want to look in to be like, well, what's not working, and none of them work. And
it's like this is the edge of the level, so
like I ran into that like too many times this chapter, because like the towns are very cool and very vertical, but this camera being at a 45-degree angle in 8 directions doesn't work for it, and I just wish that my right stick would just let me move the camera.
Let you fiddle it,
yeah.
And that this game would be
DualShock, sadly.
like if they announced that they were going to make like a modern version of this or whatever, the things that I would want them to add into it would be right analog support and press a button to fill out the text boxes, of course, and then like potentially a touch up on the translation, and depending on what disc 2 is like, maybe add some of that shit back in. But the camera is the biggest one for me.
Yeah, definitely the biggest offender. Did y'all get a bunch of? Are y'all getting a bunch of slowdowns sometimes too?
I'm not, but I'm not playing on emulated hardware that's trying to be exact. So like the fight with Ellie, all of that was in 60 frames per second for me. Nice. It was like super awesome looking. I'm like, this doesn't look like a PS1 game anymore.
No, I think the original game probably doesn't. I don't remember the original game having slowdown. But I think I'm playing on Vita, so I think that's the reason, because I really don't remember that from when I played the game before. What about you, Eli?
I haven't noticed that issue.
Yeah, whenever you get to like the second part of the town, like A block, because it's big and there's a lot of NPCs and stuff, it's like slow down city, population me. But yeah, I think that's just playing on the Vita, and that's annoying. But yeah, coolio. So we got the slowdown, we got the stupid gear fight, and we got the camera. Yeah, best part. I just really like all the environments. I like the smoke and the dust, and it's so dingy. They keep talking about how it's like Germany because everyone's got German names, but it's very much like 1800s England is what we're going for here. Yeah. It's like Marx era England, London is what the graphics are like, basically. I like how you go to the better part of town and it still sucks ass.
Yeah.
There's like, everything here is just steel and steam and bullshit.
What this specifically is, besides shitty London is this era of anime. This is what all the cities were in every like serious business
true.
anime in the late 90s. And
I loved it
because
was like shit and it's depressing.
Yeah, I miss it. Which now that there are 20 of you out there that are listening to this, y'all can help me out and email rpgbookclub@gmail.com. But the first anime I ever watched and put it with the word anime, like I'm sure I watched like Beyblades or something that I didn't realize was anime, but on Sci-Fi, there was this anime that was like a military futuristic-y thing, and they were in a lot of environments like this, and the main character had that stupid fucking 90s haircut like Zidane has, and I remember everything being like green and military and awesome, and I cannot find proof that it exists.
Better Man?
I don't know, I haven't Googled that
one. Okay.
And know me better, man.
Because that was one I watched on Sci-Fi, like real early on when I started getting into anime.
Better Man's the guy with the guitar on backwards, isn't it?
No. Better Man was.
I don't know what any of y'all are talking about.
With some
but no, it's not
anime.
It's not Better Man. Looking at the pictures from it, that's not the one. But
okay.
Well, hopefully one of these people can be like, oh yeah, I watched that too, and then tell you what it was.
Yeah, like on sci-fi.com before they rebranded, they had archives that went back to like 1997 for their anime night, and I looked at all of those and still couldn't find which one I was looking for.
Shit. That's so rough. I hate that shit.
Yeah.
That's like that movie I remember watching as a child that was similar to Die Hard, but it wasn't Die Hard, and I've never been able to find out what it was. And it was really good. I could share more information, but I won't. But you know, like I have a similar white whale of childhood media. Anyway, yeah. So we're Dunskies for the week. So how far are we playing next week? Sorry, I don't really know. It's a harder question at this point. The plot starts moving faster, and a lot of things happen. So instead of playing through one plot arc, we're probably going to play through like 2 or 3. But how far it goes, we'll just have to wing it and find out. If y'all are okay with that,
yeah,
I'll let you know.
If we figure out by the time I edit this weekend, I will do like I did 2 weeks ago and just pop in and tell you about it right now. All right, so where we ended up stopping was the first point you get to save on the Yggdrasil, spoilers, after Billy joins your party, and he'll join your party for real, where you can look at his equipment and give him items and stuff like that. But once that happens, you'll know it when you see it, and you save right after that, and that's where we stopped for the week.
Yeah, let's do it. Yeah. I'll have a lot of time to play soon, so I'll probably know soon. Basically, the next... I think we're probably going to have 2 episodes from now until the next very large major plot point. So it's just where the cutoff point is between this episode and next episode. It's just going to be something I got to figure out.
Okay.
Yeah, and then we're finally going to get into the real the real shit. Okay, so Eli, next week is probably not going to have any horrible platforming shit, but week after that, just giving you a heads up. Might want to have some backup. Might want to ask Ken to give you some support for that one. Just plan on it, okay?
All right.
But
I know now
the best character in the game.
I know now at least to initiate a battle before going on a big jump, because otherwise you're going to fall down on the bottom of the
I think you climb up a place that's called the Tower of Babel or something a little while from now. Right. Finally, when you're in the town and they're like, okay, let's all leave Kislev. Let's go steal the ship. If you leave that room, there's actually 2 doors, and I accidentally clicked the wrong door. And Saitan's like, Faye, ... That's the toilet. That's not the door to leave. and Saitan's like, are you stupid? Or can you just not hold it? And Faye's like, oops. And then you go out the regular door. It's hilarious. So anyway, if you like what you hear and you want to help us cover hosting costs and game costs, which we now, to reiterate from last time, are making a tiny bit of money where eventually we'll be able to buy 1 video game, which is awesome.
Yeah.
Woo!
So if you want to allow us to buy 2 video games, you can find us on Patreon at patreon.com/rpgbookclub. If you just want to chat, we got a Twitter at rpgbookclub, email rpgbookclub@gmail.com, and of course the Discord, to which we've got maybe 1 or 2 new members, right?
I think that might have been
last time.
I think it might have been last week, but
okay. Well,
either way, we love everyone that shows up, and
if somebody showed up from last week, shout out to you. You're great. Link in the description. So anyway, join us next week. We'll play through chapter We'll Find Out, and we're gonna meet some men of the sea. We may or may not go to an underwater city. We'll find out. So RBG Book Club. This has been Michael Spiffle-Webben.
I am Sam Allman.
And I am Elias Sailor Eli Warren.
Have a week.
Of all of y'all.
Hello.
Bye.
Bye.
You mean my dad?